Ladies first, Ashing.
Oh, thank you, Mark. My name is Aisling Byrne. I'm a theatre maker, and I'm the artistic director of Run of the Mill Theatre, um, which is a theatre collective based in North Kildare that supports artists with intellectual disabilities. And I'm also the co-artistic director of Talking Shop Ensemble with Sean Dunn, the playwright.
Hi, my name is Mark David Thomas Smith. I'm actually I had 2 jobs, but now I have 3 jobs. So I got my proper job now, so happy days. So I'm with Tesco's now for nearly 21 years now, this August. I'm with Maynooth University. I'm not there at the moment, but I'll be back in September. I'll be got 9 years working in the college. And I'm actually now got my dream job, and that's to be professional actor. And I'm loving it. I had the best team around me for making a mark. That was really, really good. Like on the last show, it was kind of a bit of emotion for me because just before on the last show, it was on the matinee one in the Access. That was a bit emotional for me because I lost someone in my family. My mom's mom passed away in April, and she went to see my show in the Access, and sadly she passed away in April.
Mark lost his grandmother there a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, she got to come and see the show.
Yeah, she did.
So making a mark in the Access, so it was that was a special day, really special day for all of us, wasn't it?
It was.
Come here, can I take you both back then? I'm going to do this separately and together. So I might start with you, Mark, first, because your name's the same as mine. And you're the much better Mark anyway. We've had this discussion before. So
you stop.
So come here to me. You've mentioned a few things there. There's Tesco's, there's college, there's acting. But when you were younger, were you always kind of, this actor baiting out of you? Like, was that there for you?
Actually, I started quite young, Mark, by the way. I had to do a couple of shows, only small shows, by the way. Like, when I was in school in Wayfields, I did Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. I played one of this, oh God, I can't believe I played this. Was this crazy? I actually played Grumpy in the show. Oh no!
I'm not.
How bad is that?
I'm not going to make a on that.
So I only had only one line on that, and then that's from there. Then I think it was between 13 and 14. There's a guy called John Fox, and you don't know, but here's the thing. He actually saw me my potential in all the school plays, and he decided want me to go to speech and drama in Leixlip, and I went over, and this lady, her name was Mrs. Kenny in Leixlip, and went over and went in, and she said, open the door, and I actually went in, and I said, whoa, 2 of my best friends were there. Like, wow. What is going on? And I know both of them quite extremely well, because the whole 3 of us, it was in Selvage. It's like, what's going on? So one of them played Mondo in Twist City. You might know Mark, by the way. He plays Mondo.
Yeah.
And the other one, it was playing Seamus Finnegan in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You know him as well. So we had a lot of great crack, but we actually went into the serious stuff, like all the acting stuff. So it was really, really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Mark, sorry, I'm going to bring Aisling in here. And Aisling, we'd like to talk about Talking Shop separately, actually, in another kind of interview, maybe. I might get yourself and Sean on, you know, but in relation to this one, we'll kind of focus on, say, run of the mill. And how then where did you and Mark kind of hook up? Like, where did that happen?
Can I actually explain?
Well, yes, anyone can explain.
Okay.
Well, I probably have a slightly better memory of when we first met, but I suppose, which you can elaborate on, Mark, but I suppose how it all came to pass would have been that Mark was living in, we're from the same town, basically.
Yeah, we were.
As I've mentioned before, in Selbridge, there's a really big disability service provider here, St. Raphael's, which Mark referred to earlier because he went to school there. And we actually lived in this town because my mum was a nurse there. And so I suppose we have a very inclusive little town in terms of the representation of people with disabilities being just a normal part of existence for us in the town of Selbridge. And I guess that wasn't quite maybe the same in other walks of life. I discovered as I was kind of like leaning into, when I was studying drama and theatre studies at Trinity, I worked with Chrissy Poulter a lot on kind of, leaning into the kind of community theatre aspects, and realised that there was that I really, really loved kind of using the stage as a platform for people to be able to share their stories, like from communities and places of interest. And I went in my final year in college, I decided to do a placement at St. John of God's or St. Raphael's, teaching drama to a group of men who attended the service. Not really at all at the time realizing that it would that it was the beginning, like 10 years ago, it would turn into like run of the mill eventually. But that was where I met Mark, and I suppose Mark and I think of it as our kind of Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper moment. But,
yeah, actually, that's kind of
course,
weird.
I'm not Lady Gaga in this.
No, yeah, I'm the Bradley Cooper in between Bradley Cooper and that guy and Carl Nicholson as well.
Right.
It's kind of mad, but here's a good thing. When I was in this place called The Hort in Selbridge.
That was the name of the day service that Mark attended.
Yes, I did, yes. And I was doing, I was in The Hort, walking away, and I thought, oh, who's coming in there? This belongs to coming in. And so I didn't know till I actually found out till one of the staff from Raphael's, and I didn't know it was her daughter. And from there, she walked in and we did an acting class on Kidney Scully. And she said, it's one person here. It's going to work a bit more harder. And she did. And she actually said, Mark Smith, I want you to be work with me, with her and Sean.
Well, I guess I suppose, yeah, that's a rose-tinted framing of the fact that I definitely recognise the potential in Mark and in many of his peers in terms of, I suppose, drama in general and engaging in the arts offers huge benefits in terms of, people's well-being and just that right to be involved in creative process, which was the case for everybody who I was engaging with at the service. But there was definitely a few people a few people that I met and worked with, like Mark and some of his peers, who I thought, my goodness, like there's incredible artistic talent here as well. And there's also voices to be heard and stories to be shared. And I guess I stumbled in, first of all, I just absolutely
Acting.
loved the work.
Acting, you were very, very young at the time.
I'm still young, Mark.
That is not true, because that is not true, because I remember you just before you came up to the Hort, you went over to the garage and you went to get yourself a coffee, and then you just came down, had your coffee, into the Hort, and I was doing a few things anyway, and then I met Ashton then, and then I knew Sean because we were doing this kind of different things in the Abbey.
That came a little bit later, but I suppose basically you have a very vivid memory of our particular meeting. But it started off as, I suppose, engaging in drama classes and workshops, realizing the talent, and also realizing that this actually wasn't happening in our community, and I started looking into the whole field of inclusive theatre and realizing that there was this incredible work happening in places like Galway with Blue Teapot and Equinox down in Kilkenny, and I realized that there wasn't at the time really any equivalent or even provision of access to theatre arts for people with disabilities in my local community, and we happen to have a huge population of people with disabilities because of the service and the service provider that was there. So that was kind of how it all started. But I mean, it really would have been baby steps in terms of just it started so grassroots, treading the boards in GAA centres and, killing a scully, as Mark talks about. It just started as engagement, collaboration, connection.
Yeah.
Slowly we began to kind of increase the ambition of the work, I think.
Mark and Aisling, I'm going to ask Mark you this first. From doing the Seven Dwarfs and from right up to making a mark, from being on stage, what's that feeling feel like? Can you describe it?
I actually will. I actually love it because when I seen my cousin Byrne doing Fame the Musical back in 2010, and I said, okay, I want to do this, because I had a change of different things. I was in the Olympics in the World Games in 1999, okay. And then I discovered a few people said to me, Mark, change from the Olympics in the World Games to the acting. And I said, okay, I do it. So I did. So I actually did a line, I can't even say this name, I was in this recent drama and in front of Mrs. Kenny and George and Devon, and this is the line from the first film. God, it's true that sit on the train, Harry Potter with the Hogwarts, when the phone would do you, red hair and have an on robe, you must be Weasley.
Come here. Sorry, can I just say, from being in a drama class with a cast member of Harry Potter, my children at home are going to be kind of, what can we do? And also now to be able to deliver lines from it. But is there a joy to it, Mark? Is there a sense of what feeling do you get?
I had a great feeling when I actually done it, because when we actually did this thing in Lisa, like showcase,
yeah,
and in Lisa, and I was the last one up, and went up, did the line again, in front of, I think in the class there's only all of us just there, but when he did the actual showcase, it was, I think it was between 30 or 40 people, like moms and dads and the kids on the floor. When I did that line again, everyone's like, you actually raised the seats up and give me a clap. And when I was coming down from this stage, and the kids came up, and one of them was only 5 years old, oh my gosh, she was a cutie, very, very nice, elegant lady. And she said, wow, you look really good. And she said to me, Mark, can I have a hug? And I said, yeah, why not? Yeah, I picked it up, give her a hug, and put it in nice and gently. And then from there, I started to keep going.
I'm addicted to the limelight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, from chatting to you before, Mark, you kind of, you know, and I think you kind of mentioned it, and obviously it's to do with kind of making a mark, we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, we talk to an awful lot of actors, and they talk about it takes them out of themselves, or it takes them, you know, it kind of creates a difference. Do you feel that as well when you're doing it?
Yeah, because for me, it's kind of, you need to have to kind of base what the acting business will look like. Because I watch kind of different things like, I mean, yeah, I'm still big fan of Harry Potter still. But I did go back on it. Like, I give it a scene, myself and Ashton Dunn, we did Reading the Madness, King Lear. And when Ashton gave me my script and to be King Lear, and I actually remember this, it was a big, I think it was between 20 or 30 people there, including all the people around us. So actually said to me, go away with your script, do your own homework on there. And I did actually, and I got the 3 films I picked out.
Yeah.
And that was, I have to get this right now. It was go back to Harry Potter. Like, it's kind of things coming back into play.
You're kind of inspired a lot by different films and stuff in terms of you channel. Mark talks a lot about channeling when we're working together, channeling some of the energy of the Harry Potter characters into his character. But Mark is wondering, Mark Smith, how do you feel? How do you feel when you're on stage?
On fire.
Brilliant. That, you know, that's probably in all these conversations we'll have. That's the clearest way. And I suppose, Aisling, can I just go back to you for a second? I mean, obviously, I said I'm not going to too much about talking shop, but I mean, it's very hard not to now that we're into it, because yourself and Sean's work there around advocacy for a much wider range of, you know, contexts. And how does that kind of feed into, say, the development of run of the mill?
Well, hugely, I guess, and both certainly inform the other, because I guess I was so deep in the grassroots element of kind of trying to set up something with run of the mill in my community that years ago, and I've often talked to Sean about this, I used to see Talking Shop as a separate thing, like the Talking Shop Ensemble was the professional side of my practice, and run of the mill, or trying to set that up, was the arts participation side of things. But actually both informed the other to such an extent. I mean, in 2013, Sean it just has such this brilliant artistic like connection to communities of people and place, and he is able to just connect that with by working with any groups, really. So Sean was always very interested, hugely interested in my work that I was doing out in Selbridge, while we were kind of, working on various Talking Shop productions over the years. And in 2013, we developed Advocacy, which was actually all about work of disability service providers and that type of thing. So I suppose the work has always informed, and very much, I have to say, it definitely informed the direction that I would now be taking with Run of the Mill's work, because Talking Shop make a lot of documentary theatre, and definitely and Making a Mark was a Talking Shop co-production. But even beyond Making a Mark, we would be leaning at Run of the Mill way more into the power of that platform of storytelling. So I'm much more artistically drawn with my collaborators at Run of the Mill at the moment to making work about their lived experiences. Like even something I'm working on this year, I'm hoping to, I'm in the tentative stages as part of a Create bursary of researching the development of a play about the history of this service provider in our community that would be a run-of-the-mill project. So definitely, yeah, it's really, really, my work with Sean has really shaped the path that I'm now taking with my collaborators at Run-of-the-Mill. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, Mark, I'll come back to you in a second, but just to finish off on that point, Aisling, about the, as you say, you know, Making a Mark was kind of a collaboration or a partnership between the two companies or the two sides of your brain in a way, yourself and Sean. But I suppose what interests me from the both of you is then, you know, obviously grassroots, you're starting, you go in there, it's maybe actually you're exploring for something yourself. But then it kind of gets a bit more, I won't say serious, but it gets a bit more kind of, you know, operationally serious. There's work that you want to kind of create and there's a leveling and stuff. When did that start to happen for you first, Aisling?
Oh, I would say it was all about relationship building with my collaborators. So I think it's, we all know in the arts how close you get when you're making work together. And for me, once we had kind of established this relationship and this group and this ethos and this collective together, and we had been making work gradually, I would say nearly from around, say like 5 years of working together,
yeah.
I started to realize the depth of history and the weight of history, you know, upon the shoulders of communities that have been marginalized. And I started to become really interested in seeing how we could interrogate that with our work, because I suppose I started to discover that there's this kind of absence of work that speaks to the lived experiences of people with intellectual disabilities in Ireland. I don't feel that the same body of work to testify to that history and that lived experience exists as for maybe other marginalised groups, because there's maybe an act of advocacy and artistic support and collaboration required there. And I feel that I have built up a relationship and a trust and a closeness and a shorthand with all of my collaborators at Run-of-the-Mill now, like Mark and our whole group, that it was like I slowly started to feel ready to go there. And I think for us, probably what would have really marked that transition was a production we began working on in 2016.
16, yeah.
I'd say even 18. I'd even say singing in terms of that question mark. I'd be more thinking singing for survival. We made this really, but you're right. No, Mark Smith is talking about 2016 when we made
King Lear.
Madness, King Lear. Yeah.
Because the reason we actually did that, because we actually, myself and Aisling and the rest of the gang of the Run-of-the-Mill theatre, we actually went into the actual story first during the summer. And then we actually progressed in different characters.
Okay. And we found that by going into the story that there was a real resonance there about an aging king who loses his agency and his power, and that there was a huge parallel to be drawn there in terms of the trajectory of being a person living with a disability and needing support from family and people around you. And also there was this whole piece happening with Mark and his peers at the time, where a lot of the group were involved in a memory clinic, because there's an unbelievable proclivity towards Alzheimer's and dementia for people with Down syndrome. Like the rates are shocking. It's quite frightening, actually. Something like a 75% higher chance of developing this. So we started to find all of these parallels in. I suppose the more that we leaned into the work organically, I started to find that we all have a relationship to the work that we make, and I found that the actors and the performers I was working with, there was these deep connections being forged, which made us comfortable to begin kind of exploring those types of personal relationships to the work.
And I think it's fascinating, and Mark, I'll come back to you on this, because I think sometimes when we talk about work within context or work within communities, we tend to forget about the work, and I think, you know, we focus on the context. But I think in relation to what you're talking about there and what you've spoken about before in relation to Lear, you know, before we get anywhere near the more kind of documentative work, Mark, is a sense of that fire that you mentioned. When you match that fire of enjoyment to the fire of finding something within this, you know, centuries-old text that means something to you. I mean, that must have been amazing.
Yeah, because the reason why I did Making the Mark, now it's kind of sad, because I actually, when I came back from the World Games in 1999, my dad got me this job in Queensland, and then got my first interview and all that. But then, sadly, my dad passed away on lung cancer, and he had a blood clot on his leg. That was quite hard. And then I kind of enveloped the show Making the Mark, based on me and my dad,
Yeah,
and my family as well.
Like,
so
all those, I mean, those themes that you just mentioned there, and like what Aisling is saying, are very much in King Lear. Do you know what I mean? They're all there. And was that something that, from you being involved in that Shakespeare play, was that something that kind of you went, wow, this is about something other than just what's written on the page?
yeah, it is actually, Mark, because like when you did King Lear, like I actually brought back one of the lines from King Lear.
Okay.
That was, I can't believe I'm doing this to you now.
Oh.
I have another line from King Lear, and I brought back to Making the Mark. And that was, I'm only continue thinking my child, it's not the truth, that's the end of you. You're not my daughter, get out. You have to be like very, very angry with that.
But in fact, the reason King Lear was brought back into Making a Mark it comes right back to that question, is that Mark would have said that in playing and portraying King Lear, that he connected with him. Like, King Lear has that line that is in the play, Mark, King Lear has demons in his head, King Lear has trouble with his memory. I can relate to that.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
and Mark,
exactly.
Is that how you related to Lear? Is that kind of one of the reasons you did relate to King Lear?
Because King Lear is kind of old, and he has different things with him.
Yeah.
But I kind of used that on the base of my dad on King Lear, because he did have troubles. Like, he had lung cancer, the thing on his blood clot on his leg. He was a bit of an angry person sometimes, but I put that back in.
Yeah.
But when King Lear had demons in his head, I kind of based on back to Harry Potter, by the way. It was a really, really good scene I watched over and over and over again. And that was,
which one?
and that
Dementia.
it was no, hold on. I have to film. The film, it was called Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and it was nearly at the end when Sirius Black and Harry is at the lake, and the lake was all frozen, and you had tormentors coming down.
Yeah.
And I kind of changed from the demons into Dementors, kind of get these different things into my head. I got that, and then there's another film as well. It was very, very crucial, because at the very, very start of Harry Potter, he had a scar on his forehead, and I'm kind of related to that, because when Voldemort killed his parents, that was very, very hard, to kill his mum and dad. I kind of related to that, because I lost my dad.
Yeah.
And that was hard. And
Mark, that's just that there again, you know, just like it's extraordinarily insightful listening to any actor's process, but that is fantastic, because I think it's very, very relatable, and it's also very clever as an acting process to bring in not only your own, you know, your own life experiences, but your kind of cultural influences as well, and your own kind of things that you're into. That's a really powerful mix.
It actually makes Mark such a pleasure to direct as well as a director, because when you've worked with him for a long time, we've built up this shorthand together. When I might maybe need something from him in delivery, sometimes I just need to say Snape, and he knows what I mean, and it's like he nails.
See, I can't believe I'm saying this today. I've got a kitty acting on, like when Snape comes over in this film, in Harry Potter, he has the elements he has in the films. Like, I give you an example. Snape, like Alan Rickman actually plays Snape. He has J.K. Rowling put in things in for him to do.
Yeah.
But Dumbledore doesn't know yet till probably on the fifth book.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I kind of based on that as well.
That's interesting. So you're saying that, like, even J.K. Rowling's method of keeping a readership not knowing and Dumbledore not knowing feeds into your acting in the way that you're able to kind of things that the other person doesn't. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. Let's move on then. I mean, Lear sounds like an amazing experience, and I love all the Harry Potter kind of references and how you developed your work. And then, Aisling, maybe go to you first on this. The genesis of Singing for Survival and working out in Drift, and how did that kind of come about?
Well, we had a great existing relationship with Drift because we premiered Lear there, and we kind of we found that Lear took us to kind of like those dark demon dementor places that we were kind of like, oh, that was a bit surprising, because like up to now we've been doing Mamma Mia and the likes of that. So we wanted to kind of parts of Lear started to veer into just a bit dystopian early. Like we kind of took that, we did our own reworking of it. It was called Reason and Madness, actually. So we wanted to kind of see if we could lean into that a little bit further. But actually, at the beginning of 2017, you might remember Trump was inaugurated. And so when we had just finished Lear and we were thinking about ideas for the next production, and all of the collectives said that they'd like to make a piece of work about this president election, this dystopian life that we were now in, and like that Donald Trump was president. And we started off workshopping, and it was really very on the nose. We said that there could be a character called President Flump, and it was going to be this very thinly veiled satire. Mark's responsible for that character name.
No, I did not.
If memory serves. But we basically, I sort of said, because I suppose the program that I run with Mark's group is out of St. John of God's. It's in collaboration with the day service there. So there's an educational element to it as well. We try and sort of run it like a theatre training program as such. So with sort of an educative element when we're not working on making new work. So I said, why don't we kind of explore the type of art that tends to emerge at these times of like scary transition or change. So we did a load of research together. We watched a lot of Black Mirror as an ensemble, and we
actually I didn't watch any Black Mirror. I didn't.
Oh, maybe you weren't in that.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't, because I kind of did something else. I didn't tell acting about this. God help me. I kind of watched a different kind of opposite on the Black Mirror. Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Breaking Bad was influencing you for that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. But but as a group, I suppose we were all going off and watching our own things. But as a group, we watched Hunger Games. We talked about Orwell a little bit and 1984, and we also kind of came upon some troubling facts from history when sort of other right-wing authoritarian governments had come into power, and found out a little bit about some of the awful eugenics programs that were happening around the time of World War II, where Hitler basically exterminated people who were different. So people who had disabilities, people who had various difficulties or illnesses and all of that type of thing. It was kind of a bit of a hidden narrative from the war. So we kind of took on all those influences, and we started workshopping and an imaginative world in which it was dangerous to be different, I suppose. And that really kind of sparked the imagination. And after all of this kind of period of study, I challenged the group to come up with their own concept. If they were to write an episode of Black Mirror, if they were to come up with a dystopian kind of concept, what would it be? And Mark was really quite influential in the whole dramaturgy of Singing for Survival. As a big lifetime X Factor fan, he said, imagine like in the X Factor where two people get up at the end. Apparently I don't really watch it myself, but they sing for their survival.
No, actually, can I tell the whole based on the X Factor? Okay, so
what happens at the end of the X Factor?
So at the very, very start of the X Factor, they had auditions.
Yeah.
And then after the auditions, they had the callback. Then it go into boot camp.
Yeah.
But when they're down to the bottom two, Mark,
yeah,
what happens when they're down to the bottom two?
I'm leading to that.
Okay.
So it's the auditions.
Yeah.
Then it's callback. The judges' houses.
Yeah.
Then, this is kind of similar as when Joe McKenzie won the X Factor back in 2009.
Wow. Yeah.
And he actually auditioned before, way back in 2007.
Yeah.
Came back in 2009. Yeah. Then the whole process of the X Factor, like the auditions, the callback, and the judges' homes, and there's now down in between 4 or 5, and then into the live shows. And then from the live shows, they do different songs from each area. Like the 80s, the 90s.
Yeah.
Then we have musicals.
Yeah.
Then we have all different areas of music. And then after that, then at the end of it, is there's 2 boys at the end.
Yeah.
And they were Ollie Morris.
Yes.
And John McKendry.
Yes.
And then they had to release one of the songs downloaded.
Yeah.
And that was The Climb.
And Mark, come here to me, hold on a second now. When you're talking about the show that you made, so that idea of 2 people
at the very end.
And what did that turn into in the show? What was that kind of?
That's actually based on, do you know Simon Cowell?
No, but in the Singing for Survival show, Mark, not the X Factor. So how did we take that concept?
What happened? Like, say you had those 2 characters in Singing for Survival. What was going to happen to them?
So Joe won the X Factor and the whole business and all that. But in Singing for Survival, it's kind of based on like that.
Yeah.
But it's like different.
Yeah.
But it's kind of quite good because we had asking for different people in.
Yeah.
Doing different songs.
Yeah.
Like Dream Dream Believer.
Yeah.
Footloose and all that.
Mark, come here to me.
Basically, it was kind of.
Sorry, Ashley.
But basically, like Mark says, it was kind of the concept was it was set in this kind of dystopian center where people were pitted against each other, performing against each other, and Mark's original concept was saying, imagine it was like the X Factor where 2 people are singing for their survival, but they're actually singing for their survival. So if somebody gets knocked out of the competition, they're going to be...
So Mark, you basically probably, with Aisling and the rest of the collective, made the show that Simon Cowell probably really wanted to make but wouldn't have been allowed to make.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it's come between Simon Cowell and Donald Trump.
Yeah, actually, that is an interesting parallel. But we kind of created this idea that it was like it was very satirical show, probably kind of on the nose, but it was quite provocative. So we were sort of, we were maybe sending up some of the big concepts, like talk about the community a lot in disability service provision. So the idea was they were all competing for a place in the community.
Okay.
And then I would say, in that show, community. What's that line?
There is no community.
Thank you, Aisling. It's no community, obviously.
Yeah.
And Mark's character was kind of, he knew.
Yeah.
He knew the score. Like, he knew there wasn't a community.
And I suppose, actually, just to kind of reflect back on what Steve is saying, that kind of, is that something that you really enjoy? I mean, I'm interested, that's kind of the devising process, Mark, of kind of making the work, you know?
Yes.
And we move on to kind of, you know, making a mark in a second, but that must be a really exciting thing to do, to actually create something from nothing, you know,
I think that is a good question, Mark, because if you kind of based on a different kind of characters in between King Lear and Patrick in Singapore Survival, it's kind of two different things.
Yeah.
Like with King Lear, you have like I kind of put things in like the mentors, Dumbledore, but in Singapore Survival, I kind of picked out two different soaps for my character of Patrick, and that was I can take this on. I picked out two major actors for different soaps.
Okay.
So one of them was Coronation Street.
Yes.
And EastEnders.
Okay.
And one of them was Mr. Hillman.
Yes.
Because he killed his wife.
Yeah.
Killed his Maxine with the crowbar.
Yes, very horribly did. Yes.
He did, didn't he? And then with another character in EastEnders, Danny Dyer.
Yes.
And it kind of mixed in.
Okay.
Like really mad.
Yeah.
In the making of the work, like I suppose everyone their influences into the room. So like even Mark's character, he talks about there, Patrick, you know, in our devising processes.
It's kind of
but Mark created his own character, gave him his own name, decided what his character's attitude to the unfolding situation would be, and you know, so everybody has a really, really important stake in the process of making the shows.
That's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it sounds like a very fluid process as well. You know, but Mark, then, I mean, to do that is amazing, and actually that work kind of, you know, got a great response. And then I suppose that's where we kind of hooked up in relation to after that, when you came out here for a first residency. But to move from kind of developing Patrick's and Lear, and then to kind of going, okay, it's going to be an exploration of me, Mark. That must have been.
Yeah. I think that was a good idea, because when I done Lear and Singapore Survival, they're both different characters, by the way. But when I actually got the residency in the Actors with you, Mark O'Brien, I actually fell in love, because it means like I'm going to work nearly every day, and I love it. And this new piece of work we actually done, Making a Mark, is kind of based on my true story coming out, kind of not like playing a character at all. No, it's not. It's kind of a piece of new work. So it's kind of Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting, and I think it's kind of worth noting that Niamh Croher, the program manager here, and the kind of without her, none of this would have happened, you know, in a way from our point of view anyway, and our ongoing work with Arts and Disability Ireland and the Arts. So I think there's a lot of things came to play for us, certainly. But the minute you walked in, I kind of went, yeah, you know. I first meeting you in the cafe and kind of went, yeah, whatever. What, you have me taped from word go, so I kind of went grand, you know. But I suppose that's, and actually, I might ask you this first. That kind of first developmental phase of the work, because it was very much an open page and away you go, you know.
It was a game changer, and actually it comes back to that, like the whole residency was a game changer. Like I think Mark and I often talk about how it marked his professional debut. Well, it was also the first time that he was in a position to be
I was kind of vulnerable then, because I was kind of doing different things. But like I think it's really, really good, because like the whole process of making the mark is brilliant, because like we had Leah, Scott, Gordon.
But Mark O'Brien is wondering about, like, way before it became this big show, it was just me and you in a room in Access Ballymun, figuring out what we wanted to do. I think it probably was like, it all came from Mark's suggestion, that transition of, was very aware of my work with Talking Shop, and Sean had just written, and Rapids had just happened, this show he had made about people living with HIV, and Mark sort of said, well, why don't you, if you documentary plays, why don't you make a show about me?
Actually, I was coming into that, by the way, because when I saw, I am a big fan of the Late Show every Friday anyway. So when I saw the link with Sean and Gabby, and when I saw this interview with Robert with HIV, and I knew Sean was a writer, and I said to Sean that this is probably I met acting anyway. So when I saw this thing on the Late Show with Robert, with his HIV and story, Sean wrote this play called Rapids on the life of his story, and I said, what about me?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, Mark, because I think that looking back now over the last couple of years, a year or two, you know, there seems to be a fusion of you, Mark, and what you wanted to do, Aisling, what you wanted to do, and Sean, what he was doing, you know what I mean? And and I suppose even to go forward, to come back, I mean, the success of that show, I mean, both artistically, and obviously then the way it was received. I mean, you know, won awards. Yeah, you know, you're on Tommy Tiernan. You're kind of hopefully.
I know. It's like, what is going on? Like, what is going on?
Like, the point is, what's going on? What's going on is that you all hit on something, and that's beyond, in my belief, it's beyond the context from which you might be working in. I think there's a sense that, you know, where you're from or what context you're from in that show didn't really matter. We were looking at you as a person, and I think that was the most powerful. And did you feel that yourself, Mark?
Yes, definitely, because like I want to be out there doing the same standard of my cousin, because the reason why, because I saw a few shows he was in, like Fame. I went to every single show in the Helix, till up to the final, and then some in the Equipments, some in another play called Beautiful. I said, what about me? And I said,
so that question, Mark. Sorry, that question, what about me? We're just going to hold you there for a second, because I think there's a sense of, and again, this is what's brilliant about Making a Mark, and the show in some ways is only starting. I think there's loads more to come from that work, both in the show and beyond. But I think that what about me is every actor I've spoken to, that's where it comes from. So beyond working in services or coming from services or working in the arena of disability, none of that really matters. It might matter in relation to how the play was made and built, but that's the same thing. And I think that's what shone off the stage, is that you were there as you, making no excuses for being you. And actually, that journey towards that.
Yeah, like I think that's a really succinct way of putting it, Mark Smith. Like that what about me piece is that representation piece. It's like Mark is so ambitious. It's one of the reasons I love that we work together. He's more ambitious than I am. He goes and sees he's talking about these West End musicals with his cousin Ben Morris, who's an actor, and he's saying, why isn't it me up there? Why can't I be up there kind of like platforming my voice, my truth, my story? And I think Mark not only wants to say, what about me? Let me be up there. He wants to be up there at such a level. And I think that bringing Sean in as the writer and director of Making a Mark, and then building this brilliant team around the production, was instrumental in that. We weren't going to support Mark to tell his story like in some kind of a small scale way.
Yeah, I actually, I'm actually agree with Ashley in this one, because with the team, God help me now. No, I do agree with Ashley, because it was kind of a blank page, like in between King and Lear and Singapore Survival, they're different characters, by the way. But when I saw Sean, I want to work with him.
Yeah.
But there is other directors I love to work with.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a few from Harry Potter I love to work with.
Come back before we
release
stardom. Before we release you into superstardom, I'm interested in just talking about Making a Mark and how you felt about putting yourself into that. How you felt about, because it's one thing after doing it going, geez, that was great. But were you nervous? Were you excited? Was it?
Actually, on the first show, we did with Making a Mark, my legs, oh my God, like, wasn't it actually fine? But it was this leg here. It was shaking. It was like jelly.
Yeah.
My lips is kind of like sandpaper because I didn't have a drink. I was had to get into the actual text with Sean and acting, but I had to give acting credit because I'm going to help you. So we actually, when Sean gave us our piece of work on Making a Mark, every morning, every evening, when we said acting, going back and forth from Savage to the actors, actually was drilling all the lines into me. I think it's really, really good because, like if you want to be successful in the acting business, you have to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
Sean's script was a kind of a crutch, I guess. Like, Mark had to put himself in a very vulnerable position to go out and tell his real life story. But I felt that too, because for those who've seen the show will know that Mark and I are on stage together, both playing ourselves and kind of exploring his life via our friendship and via my kind of interviewing him without giving away too many state secrets about the show. And so I was no help to him before we went out there. If his legs were like jelly, mine were worse. Like, he was talking to me just before we go on, and I think the script was something we could fall back on. Sean created a beautiful scaffold. It's Mark's story, it's Mark's words, but Sean sculpted it in such a way that it was a crutch for us out there on stage, that we could just, go through the motions of it.
Sorry, Mark.
Well, I had to give the team credit because, like, Sean, he is a wonderful director, by the way. Fantastic writer, by the way. The Gordon, oh my God, he's brilliant. But my favorite two people, by the way, and that was Killian Coyle. I know. No. Actually, it's not. It's actually three. That hit me. So, I had to give credit to Sean and Killian Coyle with all the interviews he got me, like the Irish Times, going on Tommy Taylor and stuff. But there is one person that had to give more credit. And I can't even saying this, oh God help me, has to be Leah in the back. She actually did all the, she's brilliant. Go on.
So no, I'm not putting across. I'm just interested in that because it is about teamwork and it is about.
That's it.
And it is about that vulnerable space, though, as well, that you mentioned for the two of you. I think that's worth saying, you know, because again, I'm not giving anything away about the show because it will be coming back. But that you're both in it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's key to the kind of work.
Well, there's one person I forgot to mention, and he's just a legend, by the way. It's Jack Harley.
I knew you were going to say Jack. Yeah, he is a legend.
Jack was the best person that I ever worked with, because when we got the lines, I didn't know about the tech that much at all, and I only heard it a few times on with the Maze, Phantom, but now with Jack, like, he's just brilliant.
And Mark, come here to me. I mean, it must have been something extraordinary. I mean, for any actor, and lots of people talk about it, and I'm not joking when I say this. From remembering back to being grumpy in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to standing on a professional stage during the Fringe Festival. I mean, that's a journey and a half. Do you know what I mean? But
it is.
Not only that, for it being about you kind of going, well, it is about me, but also that it is about me completely, because this is my life. You know, and that's such a powerful thing. That's back to that fire.
It is, because can I tell you how I got that fire into me?
Yeah.
The real miracle for me it's kind of based on it was a musical, and then it was turned into a film called Billy Elliot, and when I started the first time, I was hooked. That was it. I was hooked. So when I first started doing things, when I got that fight in my stomach.
But that's interesting, Mark. Sorry, I think there's something more in that. There's something really interesting about Billy Elliot, because, you know, what we've spoken about in the last hour when we're kind of been talking here is nearly about your journey. You could map Billy's journey kind of along that. Like, no one expected him to be doing what he's doing, and he had to really fight to get where he is fighting in a time where, you know, being a boy dancer was not. And, you know, you could say
exactly
similar things about what you've had to do as well.
Yeah, because like there is elements in between me and Billy Elliot. Like, he has troubles with his dancing, his acting.
Yeah.
He had to kind of based on in between street dance with ballet.
Yeah.
In Billy Elliot, but for me, it's kind of between being out there and doing more stuff.
Yeah.
Like Jack Harley, he got a great little thing on Fist City, that was really, really funny. But my favorite bit was, I was so into it because I big fan of Fist City as well, and I know the characters quite well. And you know, one of the two actors, an actor and an actress, you know quite well, like George McMahon, he was a really, really good friend of mine. Definitely, he took me under his wing. But there was another actress, by the way, you were talking about as well. She had a few really, really iconic stories, by the way, in that show. And I saw you doing a video with her.
Oh, this is a Fair City hookup here.
Yeah, it is.
Mark enjoyed Clelia's video. Yeah.
She is brilliant.
Yeah, she is. She's. Yeah. Come here. I don't want to talk about other people. I want to finish up with talking about you.
Okay, go on.
So a couple of things, and I won't keep you both much longer. This has been brilliant. But I suppose what interests me, Mark, is, and I hope you know this, and it's for both of you actually, because I think you both share this, the belief and the power in that belief that you both have, that access to those stages should be for everybody. Do you know what I mean? And not just in a isn't it great? Do you know what I mean? But that actually there's an equality thing going on here, which which is powerful by not just a happening, but by the quality of the approach. And I think, Mark, particularly from you, kind of going, yeah, this is great, but it's the next thing now. You know,
yeah, it is. But the best thing I've done, and I'm very, very gratitude for, is getting this award for making the mark, the wildcard award, and like, wow, that's like, this is big. But now I need to go a bit more enemy to do more stuff.
Yeah, but I think no matter what you do, I think, you know, that award was won for, in a bizarre way, I think, not necessarily for what you gave out, but how far you dug down. And I think there's an interesting thing there, and you've kind of shown it in the way you speak about your work, is it's about being authentic and being, and that it's really actually inspirational listening to you talk about your work. And sorry for cutting you out, Afric. I'm sorry, and Aisling, it's not. It really is inspirational.
But go on.
Well, okay, let me finish, and then I won't cut you again. But I mean, I think having the mechanism, Aisling, of kind of working with you and working with Sean and working with, and what you said about the talking shop and run of the mill in this context, it really is extraordinary work.
It is actually, because Mark, I have to say this. I didn't thank you. I didn't thank you enough at all. When I got the residency in the Access, I had to thank every single body to put all the strings in the Access, including African everybody, including the two favorite people, in the coffee shop in the Access.
Yeah,
they were brilliant.
Well, Mark, can I just say, and I'll leave you with this, because I think this is important to say. Like, it's very easy to say yes to people who, you know, are going to kind of do the work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's like, not, you know, and I think, Aisling, for yourself, maybe just to kind of round it back in relation to, like, I know for anyone that's found this on the internet in 5 years' time, we're at May the 8th, Jesus. The 8th of May, and we're stuck in the middle of a kind of a global pandemic, and all things have kind of changed, and plans for tours this year are now kind of heading into next year. But I just feel that's kind of something that, I mean, not just with Mark, but kind of with the wider group that has kind of got that fire. I think fire is kind of a very good way of talking about it.
Yeah, it's a perfect word. And I just think as well, in terms of, I agree with everything that you said there. Like, it's such a privilege for me to work with Mark and his peers, because it takes someone with that fire. It takes someone with that fire and ambition to say, you know, what about me? And to match that with the hard work to make it happen. I don't think Mark even realize, I don't think you, Mark, even realize yet the impact that you going and doing that and doing your thing, the doors that's opening for other people, and the impact that it's having on representation. Just from being so ambitious, you know.
Actually,
to be able to.
Can I ask you a bit of a favour?
It depends. As if we won't be talking again in an hour.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but do you know that video I sent you on WhatsApp?
Oh yeah.
I sent that to Mark.
Oh yeah, I will too. Yeah.
Because
blog piece, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's kind of a good thing to have that, because I've been watching a few things on YouTube, on my TV, and on my laptop.
Yeah.
Like, I know the app is closed now, but it's
Ireland
virus and all that. So I've been watching a few things. So tonight I'm watching the actual story with that thing with Sean Dunn. And I have. I'm gonna watch that later on. I'm gonna watch that. And yeah.
Staying creative during this time, though, aren't you, Mark?
Come here to me. I'm going to let you go, but I want to also, seeing as we're doing all the thanks, Aisling, thanks so much for taking part in this, and I'll talk to you again down the line. But Mark, can I just say thank you for A, taking part in this, and B, thank you for being who you are and for the work that you actually are doing. It is incredible, and well done, sir. I look forward.
Thank you very much, Mark. Because like if I get my first Oscar or my first BAFTA, I had to thank the actors anyway.
Never mind, thank me. You can bring me over with you. I'll carry your bags.
We're coming in the limo.
Thanks a million, folks.
No problem.
Mark.
Bye.